Welcome back to The Business of Becoming. I'm your host, Stephanie. And today we are continuing our 4-part series of The Art of Rebuilding in Silence. And today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is confidence and rebuilding that in silence. And what does it look like when you rebuild confidence in silence? Because I've said this before, it is not something you're born with. I think confidence is something that you have to take care of, you have to nurture. And honestly, confidence doesn't really come from having things that are perfect or being put on a pedestal your whole life. I think confidence comes from the moments where you're really low and you're in a dark place and you decide whether or not you get back up or you let yourself just sit in that pobrecita, moment. I think most of the confident people that I've met in my life have always been through struggle, have been through trials, and they've become confident because of how they've overcome them. So we're going to dive deep into that today. And if you feel like you've been in a season where you don't know if you're rebuilding, but it's really quiet and you're a little insecure, this episode's for you. Confidence is built in, like I said, dark places. And it's in moments where nobody can really see what you're doing, no one can applaud for you. It's it's those times where you make those tiny little promises to yourself, and when you keep them and when you actually see that you fulfill them, you start feeling like, okay, I can do this again. It's putting one foot in front of the other. It's a regular Monday or Tuesday morning where you promise yourself that you would wake up early and make your kid their favorite breakfast, or that you would go to the gym. Those are the moments in confidence where you start slowly building that up, right? You don't just go to the gym once and then now you look like a rock star and you have this super hot bod. When I started hitting the gym more for my mental health, I wasn't confident of being in the gym. I wasn't confident of looking good in a bathing suit. I had a lot of body dysmorphia for a long time in my life. And I just remember going to the gym and I didn't make it about, just looking good. I made it more about trying to find a place to clear my head and find some clarity. And little by little, I just started committing to it and doing it daily. And even if it was just me lying down in my gym floor for like 20, 30 minutes, just stretching or just breathing, I just felt like I was achieving something. And then I just started seeing results much later, which that made me even more confident, because now not only what I was doing was making me feel good like inside, but now it was making me look good on the outside. And these are just like practical things that I've done in my life to help rebuild the confidence that I lost. I was really young and I'm the youngest of 4, so I didn't have a lot of chances to be confident. I had a lot of chances to get hand-me-downs. I had a lot of chances to be made fun of, to get locked in the closet and basically, be tortured a bit by my siblings. But yeah, confidence wasn't something I grew up in having, it wasn't something I was born with, but it was something that I found later in my teenage years by just diving into sports and diving into reading and doing things that made me feel good. I really started gaining a lot more confidence and momentum when I started my business, because I was young, I was about 18, and I remember not having I wasn't the sharpest tool. I didn't know everything. I barely knew how to do much, to be honest with you. I've worked since I was 13, 14. And then when I started my business, I really didn't know much of what I was doing. But when I opened up the LLC, I was like, oh, like, this is mine. This is something that I have to build. And I remember just going and just moving and trying so hard to just make something of that. And I did, I hired people, I did a bunch of sales, and slowly but surely I just started, hitting all my markers, hitting all my goals that I had set for myself. And one of my biggest goals was that I wanted to pay off one of my cars, and I wanted to buy a car that I've always wanted since I was a kid. I don't know if it was because I liked Barbie for a very short period of time, but I thought she had the coolest whip, which was a Jeep Wrangler. And I was like, dang, I want a Jeep Wrangler. And I remember I had printed a picture of a Jeep Wrangler and I put it in my office. And I said, I'm going to work towards getting you. And I did. And at 18, I worked really hard and I was able to get my dream car at that time. And that all just slowly but surely started building confidence in me that I could be a professional, that I was a professional, and that I could lead people, that I could build teams, that I could run a business. And it was all done in dark places, though. I was not someone that had it all together. And specifically at 18, I was struggling with so many things in my life at that time. I mean, I got fears that I never had. I had encountered things that I never had encountered. I don't know if I'm just going to go deep into this because why not? So at 18, I remember I started struggling with a lot of mental health problems. And I didn't realize because at that time, mental health wasn't a thing, and I come from a Hispanic family, so they don't encourage therapy. They encourage just working hard and going to school and getting a degree and everything would just figure itself out. And making everybody else proud, your mom proud, your parents proud, whatever. And at 18, I started getting like really bad panic attacks. I suffered from that for a while, and I never understood why I got that at that age. It was such a weird time, and I'll never forget the first time I got it. I was on a plane. I was boarding a plane to come back home from New York. I had just spent the weekend there with my sister, and we had a great time, and it was awesome. It was great. I had a blast. But I got on the plane and out of nowhere, just this weird feeling of just like everything in my body got like 100 degrees hotter. And I just started panicking and just getting nervous. And I didn't know why. And I had to deboard the plane. And I had this massive panic attack. And my sister was just freaking out next to me, not knowing what to do. And I never understood it. And I just slowly started getting more and more of them, as the years went by. And it would just happen in random moments. And then I just started being very fearful. Like I never wanted to be on planes. I never wanted to be, in a fast car. I didn't want to be in like situations where my feet weren't on the ground. It was the weirdest thing. But through therapy and through a lot of just self-reflection, I started understanding that I was just dealing with a lot of things I didn't deal with when I was a kid. And my brother, if you guys don't know, my natural brother, passed away when I was 11. And he passed away at the age of 18. And none of that clicked to me until I dug deep into why I was feeling this way and actually started looking for help. Everything really shifted when I started getting clarity on it. And I just encourage you that if you are in a place where you feel like you're helpless or you feel like you're having these kinds of attacks or you're having these kinds of moments of desperation and just darkness, that was October for me. Every October, I was just like, it was weird. It was like a internal clock thing. I would just get super depressed and I'll just get super down and super fearful of things. And I didn't realize up until much later that it was all stemming from roots of when I was a child and trauma that I had went through that I never processed. So I encourage you, if you are feeling this way or you have felt this way and you just never really addressed it, take the time to look inward, because we're talking about confidence today, right? We're talking about rebuilding in silence, and that's a big part of it. It's looking inward. It's doing things that no one else can do for you. And you cannot build a life on suppressed emotions or suppressed trauma that you just don't want to look at and you don't want to deal with. Because when you deal with them and you can identify triggers, you can identify problems, you can learn how to overcome them. You can learn how to see it coming from a mile away and not let it derail your purpose or your plan or what you're building in that very moment for your life. And I feel like that's what people get wrong about confidence, that it has to require this big move or this like major transformation or this big moment in your life for you to feel confident. And that's not true. It's just tiny little steps that you take for yourself. It's tiny little, actions that you make knowingly to rebuild that confidence in silence. And I've never really heard many people talk about it. I'm sure there's a bunch of YouTube videos or podcasts on it now, but growing up, I didn't know much about it. And confidence really, just like I mentioned, it's something that is it's something that comes from when you're like in your lowest points, when things just feel like they're falling apart and you have no idea how to get a grip on it, but you become the man in the arena, and you know that you are surrounded by all of these crazy things and all of these things that can beat you up and knock you down, but you still try anyways. You still get in there, you still get in the dirt, and you still say, okay, well, I'm here. I'm here to compete. I'm here to play. I'm here to, play my cards right and see if I can make it, you know? And like I said, I've met so many people in my life. I mean, tons of people in my life. And I look at them and I'm like, wow, she's so confident, or he's so confident. And when I sit down and I talk to them about how they gained their confidence, or how they were able to strive through so many difficult seasons of their lives, they all have told me the same thing, which is you just got to get up and try. You got to risk it. You got to bet on yourself. And sometimes you win, and a lot of times, more often than not, you lose. But it's how you get from that loss to rebuild yourself and not make the same mistakes again. And I'll be honest with you, I have been through rebuilding seasons in my life that they were where I would say confidence ground zero, where there was no ounce of confidence there. And I'll get deeper into that in another episode about some of these intense seasons. But today we're talking about confidence, and I'm sharing with you guys what took me out of these dark places when nobody was cheering for me, when not only did I just fail publicly, but I also just failed privately with myself. I let myself down. I abandoned myself in so many situations or conversations or in business. I've found myself in places where I've abandoned myself. I've abandoned my team. And those feelings of just like, man, I suck right now. And I don't know why anybody would want to be led by me. I mean, I've found those moments in my life a lot, I've even had to sit down and write down, why people would want to be led by me. Why am I somebody that can be considered a leader or a boss? I remember when I had my kids, I was like, who am I to raise children? Like, this one, I'm a baby myself. I found myself in many of those seasons, and I cannot wait to share with you guys a little bit deeper of these layers that got me to sit here and tell you, how I've been able to become successful, how I've been able to remind myself that things will get better and have gotten better. The rebuilding process, it's extremely slow. For me, it was extremely slow. It was quiet. It was chaotic, but it was slow. And I'm so grateful that it was and that it is, because every season that comes now in my life, sometimes I feel like I'm rebuilding myself and I'm redesigning my future. Every week for me, especially even in this year, has been like one after the other. Like damn, 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 damn. Boom, 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 boom. And it's just been tough. And maybe you feel the same way. Maybe you feel like 2026 was supposed to be your year. It was supposed to be your year to just finally have everything that you've been working so hard for. And I promise you that once you get to a point where you think you have it all together, you will find yourself in this season of just burning out fires a lot of the times, or struggling with things you didn't think that you would, because that's life. Life is meant to challenge you so that every single day you have an option to either be great or just be the same or be worse. I want to share with you guys something that specifically last week really hit me hard. Many of you guys know, if you've been on my channel, that I do believe in God, and I'm not super spiritual, but I definitely have built my life around these foundations. And there's been a verse that's been in my heart for the last week. last week I had to do probably one of the hardest things that I've done in a really long time, which was say goodbye to my grandma. And damn, I didn't want to talk about it because I feel like I'm going to cry. My grandmother, which has not just been a grandma to me, she's been a mom to me. And it was a really tough week, definitely. Not only because I was stuck on a cruise ship and had to maneuver my way through TSA 14 different times because of my last name and because of trying to deboard a cruise ship in the middle of Bimini and in the middle of the ocean. It was hard because I felt like, one, I lost a bit of my childhood, and two, because she loved us all differently and the same all at once. It was a weird thing. She gave the love that we needed in those moments. Some of us were more spoiled than others. Some of us needed more tough love. Some of us needed just somebody to be there and have a warm cooked meal. When you lose somebody so significant in your life, it just feels really chaotic. And it feels like things just stop. Your world just stops. And you have no idea how to press play and put it back in motion. So as I was doing all the funeral arrangements and being there for my mom and having people fly in from all over the world, because this woman has a legacy that one day I wish I can have. Just in her lineage, there's over like 70 something people. And she's was able to be a mom to 7, a grandmother to almost 20, a great grandmother to almost 25, and a great great grandmother to 2. So she was able to see about 4 generations from her lineage, which was awesome. But why am I saying all of this? Because as I was doing all of these things and trying to find my way to grieve at the same time, this verse just kept coming up. And I'll read it to you because I don't want to say it wrong. But it's Psalms 23, and it says, "He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters." And as I was at the bureau, I mentioned this verse because, again, it's been in my heart. I have no idea. And in my mind at that time, I was saying that because, I was thinking of her, that finally she's at rest, that she gets to, be home. She gets to be with my brother. She gets to be with, those that she's lost and that she's been wanting to reunite with and be in heaven. And as I was saying that I felt like I was, letting her rest, that she's, being laid by green pastures and still waters, that she's at peace, she's home. And today, I came into the office early, and I started to pray, because it's weird. You just got to get back up and you got to go to work and you got to, be a professional. And as I was praying, I went back into this verse because it kept coming into my mind. And I was praying and I was just like, why am I reading this? Why is it still something that is like just like wanting me to revisit? So I read it again, and I'm going to read it again to you. Psalm 23. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. And I used to read this as something that was just peaceful and optional. And I've heard this verse all of my life. All of my life. But today, that word makes me lie down. Makes me lie down in green pastures. It hit me like a ton of bricks this morning, because my life right now is not perfect at all. And I know I'm confident. I have gifts, I have talents, and I've seen success. But it's still chaotic. And when I read that verse today, makes me lie down, it was more for me than for my grandmother, because it really made me see things differently, where God is literally telling me in the middle of chaos, there's still green pastures and there's still calm waters for you. Again, green pastures just don't go away because you're overwhelmed, and the still waters don't go crazy and turn into, river rafting waters because you're in your head, they're still there. There's still hope for you to be at peace. There's still hope for you to see you the way that God sees you, to see the world the way that God intended it for you. And that was what was my biggest, I guess you can say, just understanding of that today, which was maybe right now I don't understand why things happen. And maybe right now I can't see the future that I know God has for me. I believe it. I know it's there. And there's mornings where I wake up and I'm like ready to charge, for the world and ready to, take on whatever's there for me. And then there's days I wake up and I'm like, why am I doing this? And I don't want to do this anymore. I'm tired. I'm not a good mom. I'm not a good leader. There are those days in every season of your life. But today, I was like, I need to reset. I need to be here. I need to be present. I need to, be a leader. I need to record. And when I read that again, it just really reminded me that this is how God sees me, and he sees the future that he has for me. Even though I don't get it and I don't understand it and I can't see it for myself some days, there's still green pastures. There's still waters. There's just so much more for me, even though pressure is high, even though answers are needed from me and decisions have to be made. They're still beautiful in the craziness. So when I talk about rebuilding in silence, I want you guys to understand that sometimes it's not that you chose it, it's sometimes that it chose you. And in my case, which has been many instances of my life, when I've been forced to sit down, when he makes me sit down, it's because I was running towards places that I wasn't going to grow. So I had to sit down so that I can redirection myself and give myself redirection and see really what was made for me. And whatever may look like a setback in your life, a lot of times heaven calls that a setup. Because I definitely didn't see myself at this age with all of the trials and tribulations that I've been through. I didn't see myself going through any of those things. But I sure as hell am glad I did. Not because I love torture and I'm a masochist, but because it gave me confidence in things and allowed me to be able to confront a lot of things in my life and be there for people who are experiencing these things that they have no one to go to for help. So many have reached out to me, not just because of this channel, but because I've been able to actually publicize a lot of things I've been going through and have reached out for help or for guidance or for advice on how they can handle this as a professional, how they can handle really hard seasons in their lives, trying to be a parent, trying to run a business, trying to start one up. And I'm just grateful that even though I've had all of these things happen to me, I've been able to be someone for somebody else and be helpful to people who have found themselves in this season. So here's how to actually rebuild in this season instead of resisting it. There's 4 steps that I have continuously used in my life. The first step is keep promises to yourself. Tiny promises. They don't have to be grand. The bigger they are, especially in the beginning, the easier it is for you to let yourself down. So I encourage you, keep these tiny little promises, even if it's just not using your phone for the first 10 minutes of the morning, or if it's being more present at dinner time with your kids, or doing one activity with them during the week so that you feel like you're creating these memories for them. Or if it's, I'm going to wake up at 6 to go to the gym. These little tiny promises, start small, but keep them to yourself. And do not, I repeat, do not wait for somebody to applaud you for them. Do this for yourself. Keep them to yourself. Do not share it with the world, because then it puts a pressure on you that's not going to rebuild confidence, because now your confidence is not being built in you quietly, it's being built on the applause of somebody else, which at that point, when they stop applauding you or they stop saying, congratulations, good job for being a great mom, If they say something negative, it's going to tear you down just as fast as it builds you up when they said it. I can take compliments now and I can say, thank you, it was great, awesome, love that. But it's not going to move me if they say something negative, because my confidence wasn't built on their applause or their cheering for me. A lot of the confidence that I have has been built in just silence, has been built on these tiny little promises that I've made for myself that later I've been able to just grow and grow and grow from, and no one can take that back from me. That's something that I did the work in the dark. You're trying to teach yourself that you could be trusted. You're trying to teach yourself that you could follow through, that you could make a plan and execute it. And all of this confidence that you're rebuilding silently, especially in the beginning, is just reminding yourself that you can trust you, that you've got this. And yes, people are awesome and they're great and they're helpful, and you need people in your life to remind you that you're great. But when you're rebuilding confidence, a lot of these tiny promises are just so that you can feel like you can get out of bed and be proud of yourself. Step number 2, audit your environment. Just like I said, you need people, and just like I said that people can tear you down, you're a product of your environment. So there's a saying that says you're shaped by the 5 people that you spend the most time around. I really encourage you to audit these 5 people. You know, maybe it's less, maybe it's more. I don't know your situation. However, I would at least list down the 5 people that you constantly talk to or that have some sort of say in your life. Because what you don't want is to have people that are negative Nancy's around you, or that constantly bring you down, or are in the business of tearing others down. Because you don't build confidence by stepping on somebody else. You build confidence by being able to keep these tiny promises and building an atmosphere that you can trust yourself so that others can trust you. So audit that, check that, make sure that you feel that those 5 people are worthy of being in your circle. Because yes, you are protecting something that is valuable. You are protecting something that is the most precious thing in the world, which is your time and your inner peace, because you have greatness in you. And there are people in this world that are going to try to rob that from you. And there are also people in this world that are going to try to elevate that from you and take that out of you so that you can share it with others. So audit your environment. Make sure that you have somebody there that, can lead you spiritually. I would definitely recommend that. I don't care what you're into. I have had the greatest advice from counselors that didn't believe in my faith, but they believed in me. So I definitely recommend that you have somebody there that can guide you business-wise, can guide you spiritually. For me, I've had people that have been able to guide me even as a parent. I've had people in my circle that have helped me as a single mom because they've been there themselves. And then you have people that are just always going to lift you up, and those are rare. So when you find somebody who's always there to lift you up, keep them. And sometimes you need it. Sometimes you need a call and you need somebody to tell you, like, hey, you did a great job, or you look good. Those people are important. Step number three. This is my favorite one when it comes to rebuilding confidence silently. Move. Move before you're ready. Take action before you think you're ready. Because confidence doesn't come before the action is taken. A lot of times it doesn't. And I want to say maybe all the time, it's not there. You have to make decisions that are scary. You have to make decisions that are shaky. And after you make those decisions, that's when confidence really starts to be present and be prevalent in your life. After you do that hard thing, no matter what that is, and you dive into it and you go in and you say, this is the decision I'm going to make, then you can start feeling confidence and trusting yourself in that decision. So everyone who says that you need the right timing, you need the right things, you need the right people, you need the right blah, 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 they can tell you 1,000 things that you have to do before you make an action. And I promise you all, this has been my entire life. on how I've built anything has been because I have moved, even if I was insecure, even if I didn't think that I should be in that room, even if I didn't think that I could have or handle this kind of conversation. I've done it. I've just gone out there, I've done it. And sometimes I've winged it. Sometimes I've been prepared. Sometimes I haven't been prepared. But I promise that my confidence soared the moment that I've made those decisions, because there are rare people in this world that can do that. There are more people in this world that will sit stuck in their problems, sit in their just what ifs, and they don't move. And if you're in this channel, is because you are in the business of becoming great. You're not in the business of becoming the same. And you are meant to lead people. And there are people that I'll never forget. I had someone tell me this once. There's people that are just meant to salt your fries forever. And it's not a disrespect, because we need people to salt our fries. But do you want to stay salting fries? Do you want to stay just working mediocre for the rest of your life? No, that's not me. That I've done it, yeah, but that's not me, because I'm in the business of becoming great. And so should you. I've employed so many people in my lifetime. And I can tell you that from the very, very beginning, I can tell whether or not this person is just meant to be an employee, or this person is going to be somebody that's going to be an incredible asset to my company, and that can one day run their own thing or have their own dreams. I can tell you that from the very beginning. And I want you to check yourself, that if you've been scared to make decisions, if you have been feeling just like stuck, write down what you want and what the steps are to take. And then take the first freaking step. Just take it. Some of you are not parents yet. Some of you are not married yet. There's not much you've got to lose. So do it. So do it. This is your counselor speaking. Do it. Because great is the reward when you risk something great. But great is also the reward when you've got nothing to lose and you're just going to give it all you got. So give it all you've got right now in this moment, because every second after is just time that you're wasting on seeing something that can change your future and the generations under you. Last step is step 4, which is celebrate private wins. Celebrate them by yourself. Open up that bottle of wine. Do whatever it is. Celebrate those private wins silently. Like I mentioned, I had my goal of, getting my dream car, and I didn't post about it on Instagram. I didn't post about it on, socials or reels or anything like that. There wasn't highlight reels at that time anyways. But I didn't do it because I didn't want people to applaud me, because the moment that I would fall, they would be the first to take that win from me. I celebrated that win by myself. I remember I was so damn happy, and that's something that I want to encourage you guys to do. Celebrate these wins, with yourself first. If you feel the need to bring in some of those 5 people that are close in your circle, great. But do it first privately. Tell yourself, thank you for doing a great job. Thank you for sticking it through. Say it out loud. Don't just say it up here. Say it out loud. Sometimes your body needs to hear you say that. Sometimes you need to hear yourself say, hey, you did that. You did that, you little rock star. Yeah, talk to yourself. I know it sounds dumb, but it's true. You need to say it out loud. You need to write it down and remind yourself that, yeah, I did that thing. Because there will be days where you're not going to feel that confident, because you're not going to have a win and you're going to probably have a loss. So when you say those things to yourself, when you write those things down, you can remind yourself, you remind your confidence that, you know what, I do hard things and I do them well and I can do them again. That's one of my favorites as well. So all of these 4 are actually my favorites, but this one specifically is such a key part of rebuilding in silence your confidence, because no one can take that moment from you. No one can rob your sunshine in that moment when you're telling yourself thank you for doing the job that no one could do for you. thank you for doing the job that was hard for you to do, that was hard for you to get up and make something happen. Those moments are personal, they're private, and they're beautiful. They are absolutely beautiful. Me here today saying to myself this morning when I walked in to just pray, I said, thank you to my body. I said, thank you to my mind. I said, thank you to myself for getting out of a rut of just being gloomy and being, just, damn, this sucks. I said, hey, thank you because you could do hard things. You've done this before. You can do this again. There was no motivation to come and talk. But when I told myself that, it just reminded me that, hey, I do hard things, and I do them well. And people need to hear that. You need to hear that. And I'm not your counselor or your teacher. Maybe I am, but tell yourself first, because you're trusting yourself first. You're building confidence in the silent, dark, quiet moments that naturally will become beautiful for you. And no one can take that from you. So here's our takeaway for today. There's 4 secrets that I have had to help me rebuild my confidence in the moments where I've lost it. So the first is keeping tiny promises to yourself. Second is auditing your environment. Third is moving before you feel ready. And the fourth and final one is celebrating your wins privately first. Those are and have been extremely key in my life. And I hope that this series is landing with some of you guys, because you are becoming amazing and you are amazing. You just need to remind yourself that this is an art. We are artists of our own lives, and we need to either make something beautiful or just let it sit until the paint dries and then have what to show for it. So let's be great. Your confidence is not gone. It's just under construction, and you're putting it piece by piece together. And that is the art of becoming. It's the art of becoming this beautiful rendition of yourself that you will be proud of, and you should be proud of, because dark seasons, they're only temporary. Seasons where you feel like your life is chaotic and is a mess, there's still green pastures, there's still waters. You just have to remind yourself, your body, and your mind that that is still there for you. That right now you might just be overwhelmed. Right now you might just be stressed out, but that is still there for you. And that is a part of your process, which brings me to my next point. Next week we will sit down and it will be continuing this series, which is all about how to trust your process. And I think this is going to be probably one of my favorite series that I've done so far, because it speaks to your natural core of what a great leader is and should really, and it really just magnifies that we're not perfect and that we're all in a process, that we all figure things out differently, but we figure it out. And that's what matters. You're not alone. Thank you so much for joining me on this chair. I'll see you guys next week. Silence isn't weakness. Rebuilding isn't weakness. If anything, it is the quiet strength that is so attractive and it's so badass. If there's one private win that you've had that you've already celebrated by yourself, but you want to share it in the comments, please do so. We're all about celebrating your wins too, and we're your people. We are the product of hopefully the greatest environment that you're building for yourself. So I'll see you guys next week on the chair.